And we're on. Okay. Guys, thanks for coming to our hangout today to do the Atlanta recap. I really appreciate it. I think that when I was coming home, it occurred to me I think we had like 12 or 13 bar raisers at the conference, something like that, but there were lots of folks who were not there, more than half of us, and I just wanted to capture the spirit of the conference so that others could understand it, because I thought this it was a great conference for me personally, as it pertains to outcomes. I mean, I really enjoyed it. So I think that I just wanted to capture that while it was still fresh, and I just came up with 4 sort of questions, and I was thinking we would just go around the horn, and then the last person to answer the first question can be the first person to answer the second question. We'll go backwards. Is that cool with everybody?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So I think it's the first one is overall impressions. The second one is anecdotes. I like visuals. I like things that sort of little moments in time that capture the spirit for you. And I think this is what we try to do at camp a lot. Obviously, is trying to capture what happens at camp in these micro moments that you can then you can sort of expand upon. And then the third is what went well for us. I certainly have ideas about what went well for us and how to do more of that stuff. But I'm interested in hear what you said, and then the final one is like, what if we were to like wave a magic wand? What should we do in Albuquerque to run this back, or potentially even to make it better? So overall impressions, Amanda, would you please start us off with what it was like for you? And I know it was your first conference, so there was a lot going on for you.
Yes, I loved it. It was so much fun. I had like the best time, and I came back really excited about everything that I learned there, which was great. I thought it was really cool. It's just so interesting to see all of these different camps and like find out what everyone else is doing, and there's such a variety of like camps that work with people that have disabilities, or I talked to quite a few people who worked at camps that serve children with diabetes, and I thought that was really interesting. And it's a really cool environment, and so I was very excited to be there. And I was also really excited about how excited everyone was about the research stuff that we were doing, because I think sometimes that sounds boring, and I just had no idea what people would think about it. And so as a first-time conference goer, I was really impressed with everyone's interest in just learning more. So it was cool. I was really happy to be there.
I think Lori would say, I mean, I don't know, Lori, jump in, but I think it was atypical.
That was atypical, and I think we have Tom Holland to thank and a bunch of other factors, but atypical, but super exciting.
All right. Anything else, Amanda?
Nope.
All right, Lori.
Lots of other things, but.
You want me to go?
Sure.
Sure. Well, I just have to kind of reiterate the excitement around outcomes. I think the highlight was the session that, our Outcomes 101 session, where we had well over 100 people in the room, standing room only. That's a first for us. We've been talking outcomes for a long time and usually get a decent showing, but a reluctant showing. I felt like the folks in that room were there on a mission. And I actually talked to a friend who was in the room on behalf of her camp, and she said, well, yeah, Tom told us to go measure outcomes, so here we are learning how to measure outcomes. And it felt like there was a nice sort of kind of shared consensus that this is important work to do. So that was definitely the highlight. I have to say the Raise the Bar speed dating I thought was really neat. It was too short. I think most people felt like they could have continued that kind of thing, that kind of networking for a little while longer, but very useful and a lot of neat connections, and it certainly got the word out about Raise the Bar. So all in all, lots of great energy around outcomes, and the conference, as always, is energizing and exhausting all at the same time.
Looks like we lost Penn. I imagine he'll be back. Tommy, how was it for you?
I think your microphone is muted.
I was unmuted. And even Google Hangouts told me to unmute it. That's cool. My kids are home sick. I'm trying to keep them off the Google Hangout as well. Yeah, I had a really good conference. I got a lot out of it. Exhausted afterwards, as I have been. And in terms of outcome stuff, it was the most conversation and talk and focus on it that I had seen probably since like 2005, 2004. I've been to a lot of these conferences, so that was the when the first outcome stuff came out of the Lilly grant way back then. That was the first time I heard about it, and it was right around the time that I was starting my camp, so it had a big impact on me then. And it takes a while for all this stuff to. It takes a long time for this stuff to really take effect, but I think there's a lot of impact on it. I tried to get into your 101 session, but really they actually were like, you can't stand here, you can't sit here, you have to. I had to go meet someone halfway through anyway, so it worked out. But it was amazing. It was packed, and you could tell the energy was really big. So good job.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. It was it was really great to see this. I think I was surprised by it. I did not anticipate this. I mean, this stuff is usually sort of a slog and has seemed like that. But it was really nice for me. I think I agree with you, Lori, about Tom Holland, and I think that was huge. And we can't. I think we should remember that it's not just because you and the three of us are so charismatic or something like that.
We are.
Well, right. You are, absolutely. So that was really nice. I thought the lunch, Amanda, you missed the lunch, but the lunch was kind of surreal to me, to just have all those people sort of power brokers. It seemed I felt like kind of out of place at that table, given how much Louise and I have been doing this for 3 years or something, so that seems a little crazy, but was interesting. Yeah, the whole thing, it felt a little bit sort of celebrity-ish. It was kind of nice. So I think I'm going to remember this as the outcomes conference. As it pertains to anecdotes, I think that the Measuring Outcomes 101 was huge. I agree, the energy around that. It seemed like outcomes was a way, almost like part of a crusade to sort of prove or indicate that camps do valuable things for kids. And people always think that camps do valuable things for kids, but it's interesting that outcomes now seems to be tied pretty directly into how we do that and how we sort of prove to education more broadly, or maybe research and policy more broadly, that we're doing good stuff. Let me think. Yeah, I guess that's the. I didn't actually think about answering these questions. I just thought about asking them. Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Cool.
Tommy, why don't we go back to you?
In terms of anecdotes, as you and I have talked about, the lunch was really an interesting time. And one of the things I would say for you, as I think I said to you, but I would say to everyone, is, there were power brokers, but actually, you're a power broker. Everyone involved in this is a power broker, and there's no one more directly involved in it than the RTB crew. So don't be intimidated by them, and just keep doing what you're doing, and we'll all keep supporting it and doing it too. So, yeah. That's all I got.
Can I add something there? Just jump in really quick. I've been working with ACA for a long time, and our message has always been, to measure outcomes. And ACA, since that PIP study, has been trying to reach out to as many camps as possible. But we've always felt like our listeners have been predominantly the not-for-profit camps, and that's fine. But it's always been a bit of a struggle, or we've been feeling like we're really not reaching out to the private camps, the for-profit camps. And what I felt at that lunch was those are the folks that ACA has been trying to reach for a long time, but that Raise the Bar is plugged into. And so that is a really powerful connection. And I talked to Deb quite a bit after that lunch. These are the people we've been wanting to talk to for so long, and she knows. And it's now even more clear to me what an incredible and powerful role Raise the Bar plays, liaising between ACA and that segment of camps and all segment of camps, but in particular with some of the private for-profit camps.
And Laura, do you think that's because of the outcomes measurements are more useful to the nonprofits for fundraising and development, or is it just that's naturally who the audience is listening because they're not? And I come from an independent for-profit camp. Well, technically we're for-profit, but technically we're not profit.
Right.
Well, there are plenty of not-for-profits that are technically for-profits.
Right, that's a super delicate,
yeah.
delicate balance. I'd have to say, from our perspective, it just seems like the not-for-profit camps have needed the Youth Outcomes Battery and its tools over the years. I guess that's been our assumption, is that it's the not-for-profit camps who have to justify their existence to funders and to supporting agencies. But meeting with the folks that we did at lunch, I think the independent camps need that data just as much. And so it's interesting. We've made a lot of assumptions along the way that it's just the not-for-profit camps that really need that. And so that was an aha moment for me, was that, nope, I think everybody needs it. It's just a matter of languaging it, and I think Raise the Bar does that.
Well, and my last comment on that would be, for camps, we're not charging as much money as some of the other camps that were at that table, or some of the really independent for-profit camps are. But when you're charging a lot, it helps to justify it to your customers, if not to your fundraisers. Yes. So that's interesting, because I think, and maybe I'm just an outlier, but as a independent for-profit business, that stuff's super useful. Like, cool. Really, really, really useful. People expect, people who are sending their kids to independent for-profit camps want, the customers want that information, if not the funders. So that's great.
Oh, good.
Cool.
Good.
Amanda, anything you want to add?
No, I agree with pretty much everything you're saying, and my one takeaway was that I was surprised at, again, how many people were interested and how many people have followed up with me since the conference. I've gotten several emails from people who were at either our session or even the Outcomes 101, and so a lot of them actually were for-profit camps too, which I thought was interesting, and they talked about wanting we talked about our reading program a little bit, so they kind of were interested in that, and even just talking about explaining stuff to parents, like Tommy said, that using that to kind of market the camp and just say that you're actually doing what you say you're doing. So I thought that was really cool.
Nice.
So I guess the next step is and this is a big one for me, is like the ingredients that went into making this conference what it was. So Amanda, if you could conjecture, what do you think made this conference successful, or as successful as it was as it pertains to outcomes?
Like everyone said, I think having someone like Tom Holland mentioned, the importance of it at the very beginning kind of brought it to the forefront of everyone's mind. But I do think we did a lot of planning and talking about it before. Like Matt, you did a really awesome job of planning our presentation and making those cards and having them everywhere at the conference and handing them out at different sessions and saying, I think there was a lot of really good marketing, I guess, involved in it. So any session that I was at where those cards were there, I thought this is a good time to push people to other sessions about outcomes. So I think it was just all of that planning on having those materials to remind people that stuff was happening was useful.
Lori.
I agree. I mean, there was some good old-fashioned marketing, and Matt, I give you 100% credit for that. But I also say, Matt, that, and I told Deb this, it's you and Ariella. You bring such charisma and energy to just the term measuring outcomes that people are drawn to Raise the Bar, are drawn to the whole conversation around outcomes. And I think you need to recognize what a dynamic role you are playing in really kind of generating some momentum. So in terms of critical ingredients, and we talk about this all the time, it's people, and you and Ariella are the people right now that are bringing that really neat energy.
Thank you.
I second that.
And I third that.
Thank you. It's very nice of you. I think that I don't know who we have to pay off to get the next person who's in Tom Holland's place to say that again, but I feel like that that's real estate. I mean, you're talking about real influence, and for Tish or Jane or the next Tom Holland, I think that's such a big thing, and I'm really sort of fingers crossed that the board is going to find somebody who is on the outcomes bandwagon. I think part of I have this. I don't really think it's going to happen, but there's a chance they could find a traditionalist who is sort of the mentality that camp is not something that should be measured.
No, I'll jump in there, and I can say with absolute 100% confidence, because I know where they're at in this process, that they will find. The board has made the multi-year commitment to outcomes. That's not Tom. That's a board decision.
Okay.
It will live on past Tom, and Tom's on the search committee for
Okay.
the new CEO, so he has guaranteed that emphasis will stay the same. And you said real estate around outcomes. Well, that real estate, we are in a nice little window right now. I'd say a 3 to 5 year window where ACA has invested actual money around measuring outcomes. And so now's the time. I mean, we are going to hear about it again and again, but probably not forever. So we need to think strategically about maximizing this window that we're right at the beginning of right now.
And this starts to move into your number 4 question, which is what we should do better or differently in Albuquerque. I actually think the question is really how do you prepare to make that just as successful? And what I would say is you'll want to show some results, whether it's, hey, after last year we had X number of camps participating, X number of measurements, X number of people just asking questions. Here are some of the people, and here are the profiles, and just so like it's maybe you do a measuring 101 and you do a measuring 102 or 201, just to give a little bit of progression to continue to get new people involved, and then continue to engage the people who are already involved. I think that's the trick is give yourself a little bit of you have to prove the concept to the broader mass that, like, okay, last year's our first year, great. Here's what we got done in the last 12 months.
Right.
That's hard. But if you sort of frame everything around that, then you'll find you'll at least be able to sort of log everything you've done in the last 12 months. And you want to make sure that those are some nice, significant leaps forward. There's always leaps back too, but as long as you're making progress, I think that will make Albuquerque. The water will continue to rise and sort of lift everybody with it. If there's actual goals for the next year that you want to accomplish and present and say, yeah, or we didn't have a good year and this is why. I think that's how success will be apparent for people who come to next year's conference, whether they were at Atlanta or not.
Yep. Well, and one nice mechanism that we have is this Youth Outcomes Battery 2.0, the online system, because that gathers all of the data that all of the camps enter, without any kind of identifying information. We will be able to say in a year, X number of camps have been measuring outcomes, at least using the YOB 2.0 within a year. So we'll have some nice hard numbers, and we'll also actually be able to show camper outcome numbers based on that YOB data. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Tommy, I really like your point. I think that what I hear you saying is, one, is that in the same way I have a marketing funnel for Longacre Camp, we're going to have folks who are at the top of the funnel, and that's marketing and stuff like that, but you've also got to serve the people lower down the funnel with the 201 and sort of applying outcomes to making helping you recruit more kids or retain more kids or attract more funding or whatever it is your goal is, whether it's independent or nonprofit. I really like that, and Lori, I really like your point about the window. I think that I think we need a sense of urgency here, and that there is a spotlight on it right now, but if we don't deliver, then, or not deliver, but you understand, if there's not some meat behind it, then it's not, the spotlight's not going to be on it forever. I think that the results, Tommy, the proof, I think, is great too, and it makes me think that we should really go into this summer with an expectation of in the fall. The job in the fall, guys, is to identify our examples of camps using outcomes to meet their goals. I don't want to say improve your program because that's not everybody's goal, but we need to go into conference season with examples of they measured outcomes. I mean, Amanda's is really the best example I have, and I think that we should use Sherwood Forest should definitely be one of those. But as Mary says, 7 years ago they were running a reading program that didn't really work, and they totally what they thought. It ended up being like this because and the outcomes told them. So that was their goal, and that's not to at any rate. So I think we need more examples of those. And if it's for profit and you're going to use it for marketing, well then let's show me how that works. Has it actually worked? Has your sort of at Longacre Camp 92% of the kids show growth over the summer? I mean, does that actually attract parents? So I think that's a really great point, and I like having that goal for Albuquerque of being able to show just not just the steps, which maybe we should run back measuring outcomes 101, and there should be that top of the funnel thing, but also what do you get from measuring outcomes?
The researchers might say slow down a little bit. It takes some time to gather that, and I think even just a couple of anecdotes of things as opposed to sort of statistically significant data is going to do just as well in your really 13th month on the national scene, from a conference standpoint. I would take it easy and just work on a couple of good anecdotes like you have with Amanda or whoever it is. Like, hey, here was this camp off the street that thought they'd do a thing, and then they tried it and it worked out well, and they think they got some things out of it. I think storytelling is as good as facts will be for telling the story of the outcomes to Albuquerque attendees.
Right. Good.
It's going to take a couple of years. I mean, it's just going to take time to get the critical mass. Period. So don't try to rush it, because the next conference in 20 whatever that is. We can start to hopefully the researchers and the people who are really running the data will be able to say, here are the outcomes. Period.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about like what we want to see. Laura, you mentioned speed dating. I think maybe we could. We may as well submit as many things as we can, and just let Jane and her committee, take whatever they can. So you said speed dating. I mean, we could probably have a session on that is like there was a room with tables and stuff like that. We could definitely do more of that.
I think so. I mean, I think the cafe was a nice format. I mean, even though it was just bagels, it still felt a little bit more social than it did informative because of the round tables. So I thought the cafe was nice. I would just like to see some intentionality around how these sessions are scheduled, such that there is some follow-on, right? And I think our sessions worked out okay this time around.
What do you mean follow-up? You mean like succession?
Yeah, like a 101, and then maybe a session like you and Amanda did around kind of here's how this actually looks at camps. Maybe a panel who have actually done this at camp. And I think I think the sessions lined up all right this past year, but I'd like to be able to show that here's this entire kind of series that you could take that all works together somewhat.
Right.
And I know the conference committee is really hesitant. In fact, I proposed that many years, and it's never worked. But maybe now with the momentum, they'd be amenable to something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think another thing that I think is that it makes you about driving traffic to get the message to people who have email lists. So, like for example, Lori, you and Ann were driving researchers to the cafes and stuff like that before the conference, and that was great. And so there may be other people who have lists, maybe, like New York, New Jersey, or WAIC, or other folks that are interested in this, and to get the message in front of those decision makers, those list holders before the conference, they could help us drive traffic.
Good.
On that, do you think that the only again, it's just a group of volunteers and their camps and stuff. Do you have any plans to do anything at other conferences, whether it's a Tri-State or New England or anything like that?
Yeah, so Tri-State got rejected actually, and I don't think I think that was a they have a great process. I really like Tri-State's process. They interview you and sort of vet you, and then also say like, no, we don't want you to do this. Do a little bit more of this, which I really appreciated. But I think that probably the message didn't make it down to the committee because I was interviewed by a researcher, and the researcher it makes sense, but she was essentially, I think, got off the call being like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. There's no way he's going to do an outcome session, and I was not prepared to be interviewed by a researcher. I was, I'm very sort of camp oriented and use my camp language. So at any rate, I think we would like to go to other conferences, and we'll be at Tri-State, and we have a lot of supporters in New York, New Jersey. I mean, Andy Pritikin. So I think we just didn't plan it right. I should have told Andy beforehand and had him. But yeah, other messages. So do you think WAIC is something we could submit to WAIC?
I'm actually one of the chairs of the conference for WAIC this year, so I can probably hook you up. Although I don't know if it's going to actually fit in based on our theme already, but that doesn't mean there can't be some promotion of it, and so that's something I'm happy to discuss with you offline. We'll make sure the message gets out, because there was plenty of people at WAIC. I mean, Sanborn is now a part of WAIC, or will be in November, and with Ariella, and there's plenty of people in the WAIC community. Audrey Monkey, who's big into the research stuff. So we'll get some people plugged in. Just put that on the roadmap.
Ryan Rosen's in. Erica Jameson.
Ryan, yeah. That's why I'm here, because Ryan said, you come over here, and I said, okay. So,
okay, good. One thing that we didn't do that I wanted to do was tape the sessions, and so I talked to ACA. I didn't know if there was like legality around that, and they said no, it's totally fine as long as you're not A, selling it, and B, you're getting the permission of the speakers. And so I just, it's the $0 budget thing. But I think that if we had camcorders and we were, the little mics on the lapel thing, we could actually make some really great videos and post those to the YouTube or to the, I don't care where you post them. But there are lots of folks, my guess is, who missed those, who would like to see those. It would just help to sort of build our library.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Another one to put on your radar is the Spring Leadership Conference in Southern California, and that's an interesting one. I was tentatively planning to go this year, but turns out I'm not going to go. That one's specific for frontline staff, but I think that could be a neat venue for doing staff training or doing a session on how to engage frontline staff in outcomes assessment and why this matters, and that seems to be a pretty amenable venue. I've never submitted there before, but they've always asked me to submit, and it seems like they're always looking for presenters. And then they also do a campus to camps deal.
Camps to campus.
Thank you. Before the conference, that could be a neat way to engage college students and in the professional practice of measuring outcomes. So anyway, I know Deb's going this year, so she'll do kind of the youth outcomes battery gig. But that would be it's a big conference. I know that.
One of the things that we didn't do, like Audrey Monkey's a great example. She had an outcomes-related session. She wasn't in Raise the Bar. We didn't know about it. But if I had just sort of run through the catalog beforehand, I could have included her session on our little, on our card. Doesn't matter to me whether they're in Raise the Bar or not. I think if it's an outcome session, do you think it's okay to include them on the card, right?
You bet.
Yeah. And then there was Scott's one, which I didn't even know about, where he and Tom, they did that panel. Mm-hmm. I think that was outcomes related. So include others on the cards. All right, what else?
Did we have a hashtag?
We did. I did have a hashtag, and I never used it or publicized it. I don't know why I created the hashtag if I was never going to use it or publicize it. I didn't spend a second on Twitter while I was there. Did any of you guys?
No, I don't use Twitter.
Oh,
But I hear other people do.
Twitter is a phenomenon. It is. It's unbelievable. But in terms of promotion, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, we've never had success with it at Longacre in terms of any sort of getting anything from it. I just like it because it's an amazing news source, an amazing source of information.
Right.
Just a lot for this. I think it's a little too much noise, not enough signal. So.
Good.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Well,
We've got to get Tom Holland, to stand up there and say it all over again. That would be helpful. But
yeah, it would be. I think we've got to find some way to incentivize him, like figure out what his favorite restaurant is or something like that. All right.
There's got to be something.
What'd you say?
There's got to be something, or we'll find the next person. He's gone. We don't really,
Yeah, exactly.
He's useless to us.
Right. Well, I feel like
Dead to us.
Deb Boleshki is she seems to be really working her magic in there. I mean, I feel like the stuff that she's been saying, I can sort of you see that bubbling up in the big talks or the speeches, that are happening. So I think she's really doing great. Anything else? I don't know who that last person is. Maybe there's nobody.
It's me again. I don't know what happened. So I have two screens, and I'm not sure why. Oh, there we go. It went away.
All right. Well, Amanda, I think your new headset has been the highlight for me of this.
I also figured out that the light turns on and off.
Oh, no, I like it on.
I know. Yeah. So it's pretty fancy.
Yeah.
All right. Any parting words, Lori, Tommy, Amanda?
Nope. This is cool.
Okay, dudes. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. See you
Thanks,
later.
Matt.
See you guys
Bye.
later.
Thanks, Matt.
Bye. See ya.